As the world commemorates International Women's Day in the year 2022, the struggle to give women a voice in politics and governance in Nigeria remains a debate in the nation's highest lawmaking body. Bills seeking special seats for women, 35% affirmative action for women, indigenship and marital-based citizenship were thrown out by the National Assembly, sparking protest against the bill in some parts of the country. Now, for how long will the struggle continue, and can the age-long bias be broken? This is the issue in focus today. Hello and welcome to the program. I am Ayuelia. Now, in an attempt to break the bias against women in Nigeria, women in the last few days thronged to the National Assembly protesting against the rejection of some gender bills proposed in the constitutional amendment. One of the amendments was to grant citizenship to foreign-born husbands of Nigerian women. Another was to give women the right to become indigents of their husband's state after 5 years of marriage. And the third provision was to assign additional 111 of the legislative seats to women, as well as reserve 35% of political party leadership for women. Now, following the protests, members of the House of Representatives reversed their decision on the bills earlier rejected in the process of the 1999 Constitution Amendment. The bills will now be recommended for consideration and will be part of the second batch of the Constitution Amendment to be presented in a couple of months. Take a look.
We don't want to be marginalized again.
No, we don't want.
We have all that it takes to occupy any position in the country.
Yes.
All we are asking for is give us our 35% affirmative action.
Yes.
Nothing less than that.
Today, the women parliamentarians are less than number. The same thing with the Senate. So the question is, who is afraid of the Nigerian woman? As you have heard, we women will sing and dance, we will support, we will stay in the sun and rain, but when it comes to the real thing, we are neglected. Yes, we are women. There's nothing wrong with singing and dancing, but we sing to our own songs and dance to our own tunes. That's what they want us to do. So today we should all stay united and mobilized as women. It doesn't matter what political party you belong to.
The message the women are sending to all of you is that you neglect us, you will lose election. From now shall it be. Because we, the women, are not just the ones who carry you for 9 months, nurture you, bring you into this world, strengthen you and bring you up and educate you and support you to become human beings. We now support you through your electoral processes. Stand for you. It is the women who campaign the most for the men.
As mothers, as wives, as daughters, as sisters of Nigeria, we are here to stand in solidarity with all Nigerian women. This country belongs to all of us. Does it not?
Yes.
At least 50% of the population of this country is women. No women, no nation. We therefore demand that our rights be recognized, our rights to live as full citizens, our rights to take leadership positions, our rights not to die in childbirth.
Well, the parliament, of course, like you said, is the men's parliament, and they have shown us that they have absolutely no regards for women. They do not respect women. The women of Nigeria are not seen as citizens. They do not care. And it is time for us as women also to begin to go at them where it will hurt them the most, and that's at the polls. Here we are out here, we are protesting, but it's symbolic, right? But we need to go beyond that. We need to ensure that we are putting women into office.
There are issues arising therefrom, and the House, in its wisdom, has decided to take a course of action for the good of the country. And that action is to rescind 3 of the decisions that were taken on that day and after the rescission, release them on the next set of amendments coming up. I believe, Deputy Speaker, in the next 4 weeks, within the next 4 weeks, it will come up again for voting. But the important thing is that we rescind 3 of those decisions.
Well, to get more perspectives on that, we have Faith Nwadishi, the Executive Director, Center for Transparency Advocacy, in the studio. Thank you for joining us on Issues.
Thank you so much for having me. Good day, Nigerians.
Yes, you're welcome. Well, finally, it appears that the matter has been laid to rest, isn't it? They have succumbed to the demands of women to, you know, recognize some of those bills and pass them into law in the constitutional amendment.
Yeah, well, recognize, yes, laid to rest, no. Because there were 5 issues, and you have the lower chamber of the House National Assembly that has decided to take a second look at that. We have not heard anything from the upper chambers. And you know that the 2 chambers of the National Assembly need to harmonize all of this so that we're speaking with the same tone and the same voice, and that everybody understands what the issues are. So at this time, we cannot say it's laid to rest, because women are still angry, women are not happy. And out of those 3 items, there's one that is already is a given, that there's a gender policy in the country that recognizes affirmative action of 35%. So why go back and make a law that reduces the 35% to 25%? If in rescinding that provision they had said, okay, we are considering making it 50%, then you will agree that yes, they have made progress around that. But at this time, let me congratulate Nigerian women for holding forth, for believing in what all of us should be part of the table, making decisions. And for the past week plus, women have been out there across the length and breadth of this country, demanding the same thing, demanding that their voices be heard.
I mean, is it across the country? Because, I mean, we have stayed, the first ladies of, some states here in Abuja, but we need to translate that energy, to the subnational level, to the local levels, isn't it? I mean, it shouldn't stop, from the National Assembly, because at the end of the day, National Assembly will transmit some of these proposals to the state assemblies, which is where the real battle is, isn't it?
Exactly. In fact, they will have to transmit all of because it's a constitutional amendment, since we didn't have a referendum. So the National Assembly and the state assemblies need to agree on what the rules are. Now it is at the national level, because this is where we need decisions to first be made. And that's why you see all of the pressure here. On the 8th of March, there were 1 million women marching, not just women, but men and young people who joined in the march to just add a voice to what is happening. By the time it gets to the state assembly level, you will see every woman coming out. Because at the end of the day, initially it was more like, oh, this is just the activist women who are asking of that. But when you take a closer look or analyze what these provisions are, it's actually the political women who would eventually benefit, because they're the ones who get most appointments. They're the ones who need to sit in at the national and state assemblies. And I'm quite happy to note that a lot of them came out to support this struggle. And interestingly, for the first time, you see a struggle like a protest, a group of people, and you see the wives of decision makers coming out. You see the wives of governors. I expect also to see in the coming days, in the coming week, the wives of the National Assembly members who sat down at the National Assembly to make these rules. If we get to that level, then we'll begin to make a headway. And I'm sure, definitely, women will always get what they want. But this time around, we're saying we don't just want to get it on a platter of gold. We want to fight for it, because forever, women have fought for whatever space they have gotten. And that was how the whole story about the International Women's Day from the Socialist Party in New York, when they had the first protest against garment workers, they had a National Women's Day, and all of that translated into what we have as International Women's Day. Women have always fought, for that little space on the table. And we're not tired. We'll still continue to fight.
But as it is now, I mean, whether this will eventually even make it in the, red chambers, the Senate, for instance, because this is just the House of Representatives. What do we expect from the Senate? What if the Senate decides that, we stick to our position we are not changing. What's going to happen?
Yeah, but there's still going to be the opportunity to harmonize, you know, so that it comes out as one constitution from the National Assembly. So if there are some of the provisions, other provisions that are not gender-related provisions, where the House of Reps passed and the Senate didn't pass. So we're still waiting for that opportunity for the harmonization. And that's why the lobbying continues, the protest continues, all of the work that we have to do continues. We cannot rest on our hours now because we have not achieved what we want to achieve. Like you have some members of the very few members, the women, but you also have within even the male folk, their rank, you have people who also support and understand. For instance, it's not, you don't have to lose sleep over the fact that if, as a Nigerian, I'm married to a foreigner, my foreigner husband should have automatic citizenship of the country, just like it's done in other places. If a male can marry a foreigner and by virtue of that marriage, the female becomes a citizen, in the country, there's nothing stopping you from having a female who is married to a foreigner to become, that's a given. That's something about human rights, about being able to, like, you know, the religious injunction of spouses coming together and not separating them. So you want to use the laws to separate them, that kind of a thing. And then the other aspect about the indigenship of, you know, I am married, we have seen that affected a lot of women. Women have been given appointments, if not for the fact that women came out to support, or maybe their spouses are also strong political individuals in their states. Some of those women, those appointments would have been taken away from them because, one, they fell in love with a man, they left their state, they are still Nigerians, and they went to another state. They recognize that they have contributed all their lives, they've had children, they've contributed, and most importantly, some of these women pay their taxes in that state. So you pay your taxes in that state. Not only are you married there, but you still can't be appointed, given an appointment because you are considered to have come from another state. In fact, it's not just state, we're looking at it as state. Local government level, you still have those kind of agitations against women. From the same state, a woman is married to another tribe or another local government, and you want to give her appointment to that. They say, no, she's not one of us. But she has always been one of us.
You know, Africans, Nigerians are very cultural people, very very conservative in nature. So I'm wondering, you know, the cultural dimension to this, whether this will pass at the subnational level. Because, you know, some of these issues have very, very, you know, traditional ties to them.
Okay, let me just paint a picture for you. In Africa, we respect the maternal tribes, the maternal roots of a child. If a child is oppressed in his or her paternal home, the child goes to the maternal home to get succor. And most times you see that even in the maternal home, a child is better treated, respected, the rights of that child is recognized. Whatever role the child has to play as a member of that family is given to that child. So it is already recognized within the African culture, and that is why in the African culture, the earth is described as a mother. The mother is important, and when you have the mother, the motherhood thing, you know, signifies growth. It signifies development. It signifies a closer tie, not breaking a specific tie. So culture recognizes that, and culture supports that. Culture recognizes the fact that even religion recognizes the fact that I leave my parents, I come unto you, your people are my people are your people. You understand that? So it is just the law. If you bring it back to culture, culture recognizes and protects, one, the maternal roots of a child, because you say that when you go to your maternal side, you also have succor. You are treated the same way. You are given the same rights that you have as a child. In fact, somebody from your maternal home cannot hurt you because you have your roots. You have your roots there. So it's important that we do that. And again, even within our culture, there are some traditional culture that you see a woman gives birth to a child, and the father disowns the child. The family of the woman welcomes the child and can even make the child bear the name of the father of the mother. So to say, we don't want that the linking from this family. This is part of it. So some of these things help to strengthen that. So if you say because somebody is married and the person has come to a particular home, the person should do, our culture doesn't support that.
All right, now, how much more pressure do we need to, see this pull through? Because in most cases, pressure at the local level is not really very, very strong. It's always about the center, always about Abuja. We don't see engagement, at the local level. In the states, for instance, civil society organizations, all of this advocacy, at that level. So how much of that advocacy, because evidently from the protests and all the, agitations that arose following the rejection of these bills, we are seeing that the House of Reps is taking its decision, in that respect. So evidently, advocacy, it's mounting pressure, on politicians and lawmakers. So, how much of that pressure do we need, at that subnational level?
A lot more. I agree with you when you say that we don't see that kind of pressure at subnational level. That's again because of the structure of governance that we run. When every month the commissioners of finance have to come to the federal government, to the federal level, Abuja, to share allocations from the federation account, it shows that where the power is. But importantly, when you look at the structure of governance, there's a little bit more of independence at national level than at subnational level. Well, a situation whereby at subnational level, let's take the local level, for instance, has local government areas. Local government chairpersons are more or less appointees of the governor, irrespective of whatever political party. And you see a little bit of that translates even to the state assembly. So you don't see that kind of independence and power play between the executive and the national and the Houses of Assembly at the local level, like you see at the national level. And because a lot of the laws at national level are popular laws, people know about them, people engage these processes, it's easier also to engage at national level. A lot of people who engage at subnational level are at the risk of being harassed, intimidated, even either by the governors or political stooges that they have at that level. So the momentum has to begin to build from the national, because the national first have to put all of those things in place. And when people see the success they have made at the national, it gives them the impetus to begin to even put more pressure at local levels. Because you come and I just saw in the report now you saw all the governors' wives who came to the National Assembly. I am hoping that the same governors' wives of commissioners, wives of House of Assembly members, will stage the same kind of protest at their state level. When it's national, it's different. When it's state, don't be too surprised that some of the first ladies that you have seen now, when it now comes to states, would even want to say, oh, let's pipe it low, let's not take it like that, it's the National Assembly. So we need to have more of that. A situation whereby the wife of a first lady, they have gathered in Abuja, we expect that if there's protest happening, just imagine, just close your eyes and imagine that you have a protest happening across the 36 states, including the federal capital,
exactly,
led by the wife of the FCT minister in Abuja, then all the local government chairmen and their wives, the members of all of them, I'm telling you.
I mean,
something will happen that day.
I mean, all the governors definitely have wives, isn't it?
Exactly.
Even state lawmakers, they have wives.
They have wives.
But again, the cultural and religious beliefs, sometimes, do you see this, pulling through at that level? Because we need at least 24 state assemblies, right, to be able to pass this. We need that 2/3, of all the various state assemblies. So even from this last protest, I'm not sure if all the women of the governors across the 36 states came out. So let's talk about the role of these women, and the odds that are against them in really voicing out to some of these issues.
I think culture plays a lot of role around that, and even this issue around nepotism and because it's close to me, don't let me be seen as the one that is opposing. Our cultural or upbringings tells us that, oh, if this is family, stay away, don't be the troublemaker, don't be champion the troubles for the family and all of that. So it's what we see. But unfortunately, what we see and what we hope that Nigerian women will get to understand is that the totality of the numbers of the spouses of those who have made these laws are not even up to 10% of the totality of the Nigerian women who make some of these things happen. It is the Nigerian women who stand in the rain, under the sun, to cast votes. Not really the political class, but the ordinary Nigerian women. So, and if you look at the population of people who had come out to even talk, they are from the Nigerian women. So what we need to, the message we're passing across is women must understand that this is the role that we need to play. The only reason why we need those political women to be in the forefront, because at the end of the day, they are the ones who are going to benefit largely from that.
Aside from that, I mean, they have a major influence in terms of coordinating some of these campaigns, isn't it? So
they do.
We need them to come out, and be evident in this struggle and all of that. Now, aside that, how much more engagement, what kind of engagement do we need to see also between civil society organizations and this group of people, that is the wives of the governors and the wives of the State Assembly?
There has to be a proper understanding of the role of everybody, especially wives of the members of the National Assembly and State Assemblies should understand that women who are fighting, who are agitating, who are not politicians, maybe civil society organization, women leaders, are not their enemies. We're all fighting for the same cause. It may be your husband or your spouse or your brother may be the one in the position today. Tomorrow, it may be your daughter that wants to aspire to that position. So joining the fight today is actually not for you to benefit directly, but for the future generation to benefit. So most of us can cast our votes. Most of us can come out now to stand for election. It wasn't always like that. People had to fight for that to happen. Those people who even fought for that to happen were not the ones who benefited. It is our generation today that is benefiting it. So what I want to see is more strategic thinking and planning between the wives. Imagine where you have the wife of the First Lady, the wife of the Speaker of the House leading a protest to the House of Assembly in any particular state. Then the women sitting in the chambers coming to receive those women and being part of them, standing to say, we have to do this. We don't want to be part of this process. We have voted yes, this must happen. There's going to be a lot of pressure. And then you get to the home, the woman is saying, oh, because you're not supporting this, this is what is going to happen. We have seen where women protested in the past and men were made to do that. That's why I say women always get what they want if we work together, and you have the people who are the influencers. Right now, it's about a political decision. So we need a lot of those women who wield this influence around the political settings, who are able to mobilize grassroots women. All the strategies they use to mobilize women to come out to vote for their spouses, they should bring it on top of the table now and mobilize those women to come
Which leads me to the next discussion, then. What I want us to, talk about the implication of all of this, on the 2023 polls that we are approaching. But I would let you, talk about that, but shortly after this break. Please stay with us. right, thank you for staying. If you're just joining, you're watching Issues on Trust Television, and now we are talking about the, constitutional amendments as it regards the proposed bills for gender parity in the country. And we have in the studio Faith Nwadishi, the Executive Director, Center for Transparency Advocacy, talking to us about this. Now, this is 2022. If women are strategic enough, they could see this pull through, especially because it's the eve of election.
We'll see it. We'll pull it through.
So, what are the advantages that this moment presents, for women?
A lot, because this opportunity helps us to now set the agenda. You want to put some acts on the table for whoever is looking for whatever ticket. So you're able to put the acts on the table based on the role that you have played. And that's why I think the National Assembly is trying to be smart not to release the data of who voted yes and who voted no. That would have been wonderful data, information to help women decide where the votes should go. We have the numbers. We truly have the numbers. If only we agree, we should be able to decide who takes the ticket or who doesn't take the ticket. So now 2023 is just around the corner, and we are having this. And that is why it's very important that they listen to us. If this had happened like early 2019, just after the elections, it wouldn't have the same kind of weight and impact that it is having now. People are being careful because, one, they're looking at their statements. Everybody is looking at their statement, body language, what are the things you are saying, especially when you know that in your constituency, you need the votes of these people to move that. But it also depends, again, on the kind of resources that women have to push and pull this through.
Exactly.
If we don't have the
Talking
resources...
about money politics
exactly. To push this through, like going to every constituency, educate them, the women, to say, this is what has happened, this is where we are. If we don't do this, this may happen, this may happen. And I tell you, once women agree, they will come out to do all that they have to do. Unfortunately, I must say, the issue of money politics, vote buying, has eaten deep into the fabrics of our electioneering. And poverty is another thing. So you have women who would want to come out, who want to stand for the right thing. There's a money bag somewhere who is giving 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira. Sharing wrappers.
In fact, that's
or even giving a cup of
one.
gari, a cup of gari with granite
Yes.
with the person's face on it, and the people, and it sways the people. 2023 is around the corner. We have started well. We may not be able to get everything that we need to get before 2023, but we need to sustain it, because after 2023 there will be 2027. We need to sustain it without just saying, oh, this has happened, let's go back to bed and sleep and relax until next time. But let's keep it going. We keep it going in the small corners. Before you know it, it becomes a movement and everybody buys into it, and then we're able to get what we want.
I mean, talking about funding, for these campaigns, is there like a pool, where women can get support financially right now, where you say something like crowdfunding for women, that, money will be put together by all women across the country, and to say, okay, this money, this fund is to support women like us who are vying for political offices. So that kind of arrangement, how far do you see that going?
They have the Nigerian Women Trust Fund. The Women in Politics is also created a website recently encouraging every woman who is aspiring to whatever position to just register and get support. But most importantly, you have women who are also contributing on their own. I want to tell you that Nigerian women have been wonderful in sustaining this protest. Women have been sending in their widow's mite to just support 1,000, 2,000 naira. Imagine where you have a population of 200 million people, and out of these 200 million people, women are like 80 million. So if you get 1,000 naira from the 80 million, that could really go a long way in supporting and sustaining this campaign that we're having now. Especially now that we are working and saying this is what we want, men are not happy. They may not be able to support that, but there are some men who will be able to support that. But I must, at this point, encourage every woman, no matter where. Because we're not just doing this for ourselves, we're also doing it for our daughters who are coming up, who are aspiring to hold position. If you go to schools, I'm talking of primary schools now, not secondary schools, basic schools, you see the kind of civic education, the kind of awareness that children are having. It shows that in the next 20 years coming, we're going to have young women who will be aspiring to these positions. And if we don't fight that fight now, if we don't fund it, we may not be able to have the kind of women that we want to see occupy those positions. Because another thing is to fight to get those positions. The second question is to get people who will fill those positions and sustain the ability to carry on the duties that come with those positions. So funding is very important. Nigerian women are very hardworking. Women are working much more now. Women are becoming breadwinners of their homes. And so it's important that this is where our mouth is. Let us put our money there, because it is about the totality of the Nigerian woman.
Mm-hmm. All right, now let's look at the role of religious leaders, which is also very important. Religion, is part of the things that shapes the thoughts and the opinion of majority of Nigerians. So what role can religious leaders play in ensuring that that message gets to be heard, and that these stereotypes and bias against women is being broken?
A lot. The same role that our community leaders and traditional rulers should also play. Because we've looked at culture and religion. But if you go through our religious books, and even from the way we have lived, we have seen that there are stories of women who had been leaders, and they led communities, and they did very well. We have seen Queen Amina's story. We have a Motan in Edo State. We have Margaret Ekpo, Ransome Kuti, and all of that. Those women, they have contributed even at the face of cultural and religious challenges that they have. So if we have seen these women and they have added this value, it is important that religious leaders look into the books and begin to preach in such a way that they understand that everybody has a role to play. And the fact that women are created the way they are created doesn't mean that they don't have a role to play in governance. In fact, in creating that role for women to play in governance, you strengthen the entire structure. So religious leaders need to stand up on the pulpit, send the message around. They are also as strong influencers as the wives of the governors and senators that we are talking about. If a religious leader comes up to say, oh, this is what I think should happen, this is what the books are saying, this is what has happened in the past, it is time now to support women, we would have solved that problem by over 50%. Nigerians are very religious people.
Sure. All right. Now, it's one thing to have, people voicing out. It's another thing, again, to have the, entire women folk speak in one voice. There are those, for instance, if you take a look at social media space, for instance, how can young women, take responsibility, on these issues? Because some may not necessarily think that it has anything to do with them. So how can, there are women of influence on social media doing all sorts of things. They are entertainers, they are, musicians, they are actresses and actors, and various fields, of life. So how can they take ownership of this campaign and use their influence?
Okay, so this is the time to call out everybody. We need to, it doesn't have to be, we're talking about resources. Resources does not come in Naira and Kobo. Resources can also come by way of your speech, your time, and what you do with the space that you have. The social media has created a lot of influencers and is one veritable tool or channel for influencing young people. It's important that everybody add their voice. If, for instance, I know she has been doing that, Eketen Show, she has always done that, tried to support women, continuously puts out all of these things. There are people that she mentors. There are people who, because of her way of life, her style of speaking, want to be like her. So there are so many others that we can look at to give hope to the younger ones. And the fact also that we have kind of tactically left the young girls to themselves to grow up. Some of them have grown up, they have lost their childhood, they don't have anybody to look up to. We have made a lot of mistakes around there. We need to begin to look around and correct those mistakes. Put out information to support young girls. Look at opportunities for young girls to build their capacity. Look at opportunities to support them, even financially, and make them economically very strong. And it again depends on how these young girls are trained from their homes. If a young girl is growing up in a home where the father or the mother keeps saying, oh, you don't have to work so hard, you're going to end up as a man's wife, you don't have to earn money, you don't have to do that, the girl will grow up lazy, because she will grow up thinking that I don't have to do anything, the man will pay my bills. But if she's in the home that she's trained to understand that you have to work hard to pay your bills, she's seeing the mother pay bills also, support the man in the house, the father is not beating the woman, is allowing her to achieve her full potential, the girl will grow up to even want to excel and do much more than the mother. We have heard the stories of women who have made it, Konjo Wallace of this world, Amina Mohammed of this world. They come out to talk about the roles their parents played and in their growing up. So that childhood is very important. What kind of information do we give them? And that's where also the media would come in. If you have the media churn out information more about what it is, to the essence, the essence of living, the essence of being part of somebody that contributes to society. It's against where you see society is commending somebody who has done wrong, and you see people say, oh, I don't even need to go to school, I don't even need to be this to be able to do that. So it's important that we change the narrative, and wherever we find ourselves, mothers, fathers, brothers, elder sister, elder brother, religious leaders, wherever you find yourself, know that you are a mentor to somebody, and the kind of message or the kind of lifestyle that you live at a particular time influences the decision that may make or mar the life of a young person that is coming up.
All right, now we will take a short break, and then when we come back, we'll be continuing the discussions, talking about, girl-child education, and even issues of early marriage. These are some of the factors that are closely linked, to this conversation. So we'll revisit that when we come back. Please stay. This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story. All right, thank you for staying. You're watching Issues, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. I have in the studio Faith Nwadishi, the Executive Director, Center for Transparency Advocacy, talking to us, about the issues about women, focus on women. We are seeing that the House of Representatives is reversing its earlier decision to, reject some of the proposed bills, especially as it concerns gender, talking about women. Now, how important is the issue of, girl-child education to all of these campaigns and reforms that we are seeking? Because evidently, it's almost impossible to see any change if we do not see, massive enrollment of girls in school, especially in the northern part of the country.
It's very, very important. I think it's a foundation of everything, because information is key, and education brings about information. Education helps you to have a wider view about issues, understanding what should happen and where it should be. So it's important that we do that, create enabling environment for girls to be enrolled in school and to remain in school. It is one thing to enroll a girl child in school. It's another thing to allow that child remain in school.
Especially when she's yanked off at a very early age.
Exactly, at a very early age to get married. And, what you do, like, you know, I was talking about a child that is not allowed to enjoy his or her childhood, is taken from being a child into adulthood. He does not have understand that transition from childhood to teenagehood to youth, being a youth and then becoming an adult. Some children lose this in-between growth.
And
And
so
that's
their
what happens.
potentials are really not.
Yes, they're not developed.
seen.
They're not developed because you did not give them the opportunity to do that. Opportunity for development comes when you have put something into practice. So now a child is married off at 8 or at 10 or at 12, that person is still a child. Because even the Nigerian Constitution recognizes that a child is somebody between the ages of 0 to 18. So when you marry off a girl child before 18, she's still a child. You understand? And then she's still having those childlike attitudes. She doesn't understand. Some of these girls also are very innocent, very trusting, you know, and then they go into those relationships and forget about what potentials you'd have been able to harness. You know, like they said, they talk about gold for those people who mine gold. The best quality of gold is the one that has gone through the highest level of temperature of fire. And so it's the same thing with human beings. You need to keep developing. You need to keep going through all of those experiences. So now the experience you have, you put a child in school. The child gets into school at 6, at 8. The person is just at the elementary level, and the person gets out. So in fact, it's like you close the world on that child. There's no opportunity for the child to grow to the next level, and it doesn't help that. And you come into a society and you see a lot. By the time you take a census of the number of children there, let's assume you have 10 children, and out of these 10 children, you're already having 30% or 40% of these children married off. What you are doing to the psyche of that community is that there is no need to grow to the next level. Everybody wants to now aspire to just grow up to be 6, to be 8, and to be married. But when you have a society where children are allowed to stay in school, they go through primary school, they go through JSS, go through SSS, get some skills that will help them in their life, you will see that their growth and their development will be different. Even it impacts also on that community. There will be a lot of aspirations to want to be like these children or like these women who have gone through that. But yet, what happens is when there's one break, maybe a girl out of that community gets out, gets to school, gets to university, the girl usually don't return to that community. Mm-hmm. So the people growing up in that community do not see her as, in fact, the message that goes out is, oh, she has become wayward. Mm-hmm. Unless there's that opportunity to come back to the community and say, this is the benefit of what we have, why this girl child was treated this way.
In fact, there's that stereotype, isn't it? That fear that if, you know, the girl child is exposed to a certain level of education, she becomes, you know, rebellious. She becomes, doesn't want to be under the roof of any man. That's that idea, that thinking as well. So can you speak to that?
So what I say when I hear that kind of a thing is, why does anybody want to lord it over anybody? Why do you want to cage people? Why do you want to be master over anybody? In fact, the greatest leaders we have had, the greatest leaders across generations we have had, were those leaders who gave the free will. It's about the free will of growth and development. And that's where submission comes from. Submission does not come from caging people, from making them, bringing out the worst in the person, say, no, I want to subdue you. I need you to understand I'm the one in charge. It doesn't work that way. Every leader that we have seen in generation have been leaders, and those who had people who grew up and became like them were leaders who gave their followers the free will to be able to do that. And each time we cage women, and there's one little break. And that's where that rebellion comes from. And it happens to anybody. It even happens to animals. If you have a pet dog at home and you just keep that pet dog in one position, you chain it, it gets sick, it gets frustrated. One break that pet dog will have out of that chain, the pet dog can even attack the owner. So it's not giving us the yield. The fact that a woman is exposed, she understands this, even helps her to be more humble, helps her because now she knows how every different perspective of things. She's able to have intelligent conversations that will help to do that. So there's really no fear around that. And the women who have excelled in our society, even within our cultures, are women whose husbands or whose spouses gave them that opportunity to grow, and they brought that fame not only onto themselves but onto their spouses, onto their communities, and generations keep talking about them.
And talking about the correlation between girl-child education and breaking the chains of poverty, for instance, exactly. Where is the link there, and how important is that to ending poverty?
In our tradition, I keep talking about our tradition because a lot of these things are situated within our cultural and traditional rights. It is being said that it is the woman that takes care of the family, the girl child, the daughter, that remembers the home and takes care of the home. So if this girl child, the daughter, doesn't have a means of livelihood on her own, how would she take care of the family? What she will do is to think about innovative ideas on how to take care of the family.
Yeah, but the man is supposed to take care of the family, isn't it? That's the belief.
That's the belief, and that's why we are getting it all wrong. So a man who is not able to take care of his family is less of a man. When you have a helpmate, why do you have a helpmate? There is need for a helpmate. If the man didn't need a helpmate, maybe the female gender wouldn't have been created. The man would have been able to do everything. But at a point in time, the woman was created as a helpmate to the man. And I said it here the last time. The woman is made strong. She's made soft. She's made flexible. She's made to be multitasking, so that those places where there are gaps, she's able to fill those gaps and keep the link going without breaking it. And once you don't develop that potential of the woman to be able to do that, she becomes she becomes completely dependent on you, and the frustration comes. If you're in a community or you're in a society, you're the only one that is doing everything. One, you can have a breakdown. You can be frustrated because you're doing so much and people are not coming to support you. And the only way the woman can support is when you have given her that potential to grow, make her own resources, to support whatever resources, and you will definitely break that evil chain, evil circle of poverty. But because we keep thinking that, somebody should take care of the woman shouldn't be seen, from home, we're already telling the woman, there's no need, I don't have to waste money on you to train you, because eventually you get married to a man. She gets married to a man, after getting married to a man, maybe she gets to go to school. The man's family or his community, like the constitution now we are looking at, says, you cannot even get appointed as even though you have the qualification to do that. So until we let that sink into our heads and into our psyche, we will know that the continuous marginalization and exclusion of women from the table of discussion keeps driving higher issues around poverty.
I mean, if I may, there are those who hold the opinion that some men cannot stand, an influential woman. They cannot stand where they feel that a woman does more and earns more money and all of that. So how important is it for us to change that mentality as well?
It's culture. We need to change it from the homes. We need to change it from society, the narrative around the fact that it is a man that must provide for the woman, it is a man that must pay all of the bills, and so the woman should be the one taking care, the woman should be treated like the maid in the house while the man is out there. So when we change that culture, when we're created, the wisdom of creation, apart from our reproductive organs, those are the only things that make us different from men. We have one head, the same, I'm sure the medical doctors will say we have the same brain matter and all of that.
But women are considered more emotional beings, isn't it?
Yeah, but it is emotion. That's why I said that the woman is created to be flexible, to be able to take in those emotions. And I tell people, women are emotional because they express that by crying.
And some consider that as weakness.
But do you know that a lot of the emotions that women take in, a man will die by it. a man will die. The kind of emotions that women take in, women are able to express their emotions because they cry. This is the way the woman is made. She has to cry to be able to take in more. She has to expel all of those energy to be able to take in more. Half of the emotions that women wake up with every day, I tell you, psychologists have said that a man will die. I'm telling you the truth.
Well, quite interesting conversation there. Unfortunately, we cannot continue because of our time, but we do thank you for coming on the program today.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. We've been speaking with Faith Nwadishi. She's the Executive Director, Center for Transparency Advocacy, talking to us about, the reactions, that trails the rejection of the gender bills by the National Assembly. Now we are seeing the House of Representatives, changing and reversing that decision. Hopefully, the Senate will follow suit, and eventually we would see that it will pull through even at the subnational level, talking about the state assemblies. With that, we have come to the end of the program for today. Connect with us via our social media platforms and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am Ayubelia. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.